Okay, good to go.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and move to citizen comments on non-agenda items.
And since I'm here, I do have two of them, both traffic related. One, community member emailed about some speeders on Coho, turning around the corner just kind of off of Woodville Boulevard very quickly. We gave a response of, we had kind of a process we follow. We put out our own traffic counters, which read speed, time of day, et cetera, trying to get a feel for what's going on. And then we work with the sheriff's office for different interventions, we'll call it, based on that data. However, we've been working on trying to get a four-way stop at Woodville Boulevard and Park Lane for quite a while. Well, now that construction's not active in the roadway, we've got those deployed before Chick-fil-A opens. So our traffic counters are in use there, which is the second comment of someone wrote and said, hey, can we get a four-way at that intersection before Chick-fil-A opens? And we said, well, been working on that for years. And here's the county commissioner, to help elevate this, because we've been trying for years. So all that to say is we've got a couple of traffic things in the works. So
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move to consent calendar. You guys have the printed staff report with the event happening this last weekend. Any comments by council or staff that would like to share? I know I wasn't there, but
it was wet.
It was windy. It was cold.
But turnout was still really, really good. I think there are two areas that we noticed kind of a decline, one due to weather, and that was that the pet costume contest didn't see the turnout we usually do. And then a noticeable absence of our Hispanic Latinx community friends. Just we had the Lightus Naturalis there with the Ofrenda de los Muertos, and that was great. And certainly some from that community, but there is a noticeable missing. The other interesting piece is because we had fire headquarters, we're trying to engage people, especially from Wood Village, on some of these fire topics. Probably about 1 in 5 were from Wood Village. We had Fairview, Gresham, Portland, Trout. I mean, all over the region, but trying to find people from Wood Village was a little tricky. So it's kind of neat that the event kind of got this larger regional poll and bringing people to our community and see how things were done here.
yeah. Which saw some pictures, and it did seem the folks that were here were happy. So it's still a good event to
lots of happy guests. We had, again, kind of new for this event, paid staff to work the city booth and help answer questions, and we used our own utility workers for flagging and traffic control instead of contracting out, which went much better this year, especially we could dictate the guest experience and kind of the expectation, and everyone met it hands down. So yeah, a lot of happy people.
And I know that was a big thing last year of having that. So it's good to hear that staff has found a better solution. And just looking at the considerations, I mean, I think that's something to continue, especially as it was such a better result than what we got before.
Yeah, and again, we've already had utility workers and things that they were paid for the night out, but having in some paid city staff at Easter, for example, to run the city booth allows Caroline to be able to manage the whole event, not necessarily volunteers at the city booth who may not know all the detailed questions that may come up. So,
and I don't think the kids minded the rain and the wind at all. They were just.
I think they did. Yeah.
And my screen is dark. Is that a hint or?
Nope.
Okay, just checking.
All right. One of those days, huh?
Didn't want the meeting.
Do we need a motion for consent calendar? Yeah.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
A second.
First and second, any further discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, consent calendar passes.
Things looking up.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Now we have a presentation from MCSO Holiday Toy Drive, Deputy Volker.
Me. My name is Jessie Volker, and I've worked at the Sheriff's Office for 21 plus years. And this year is our third or fourth year of the Fill the Cruiser toy drive that we've been doing, the new version. And so this year we will be at Wood Village Kohl's and the Walmart and the Fred Meyer again. And I believe you guys are having the Fred Meyer again as normal. And so we're just asking for volunteers to come out on the 29th, and that's a Saturday after Thanksgiving, but you can go shopping on Friday. And come help us. We've got 2 doors that we usually manage. And so we're probably from 9 to 3, and we're just gathering toys. Last year we served 1,300 children. And so that was awesome. And so we just gathered toys that day. And then December 13th, we will be distributing the toys with the Wood Village Baptist Church. And so that's really fun. So we're also needing volunteers. What we do is we have a one-on-one shopper. So each family member that comes in gets a number of tickets. And then they get a personal shopper and they go shopping for each child. And then we're going to wrap or put them in bags. And that leads to the other flyer I handed out today is that we're doing tissue, paper, and gift bags because I attempted to wrap a basketball last year. I failed miserably. Stuffed animals, I don't wrap very well either. So we're asking for gift bags of all sizes and tissue paper. So it makes our lives a lot easier. We can also send it home with the families if they want to personalize it and wrap it themselves. Like we did wrapping paper. We have so much wrapping paper that we're just going to hand out some wrapping paper this year with the gifts and they can wrap it. So please reach out if you guys want to join us or just show up on the dates. Usually the night before the gift distribution, we have a walking through what's going on, but you can just show up on the day. You can visit with people. We have breakfast and stuff for the people that are coming. And we just hang out and do shopping. So it's super fun. And we're looking forward to participate with everybody again.
So on your website, you have the details for November 29th,
Yeah.
which is it broken up into shifts or just?
And if you want to come, just show up.
Oh, okay.
Yep. There's no shifts. We're just show up.
Don't need to sign up or?
Nope, we don't sign up. You can just, you can email me if you want to let me know, or I think Caroline, you can email her and just let her know, hey, I'm going to take this shift or just show up from this time to this time and she'll let me know.
Okay.
But I have community patrol volunteers from Corbett. They come down and they help man the different stores. Students are allowed to come. My children come and help. They're
Okay.
fun. They have a great time. And we just have our reserve deputies come if they want to. Patrol deputies stop by and hang out. So it's just, we try to make it a good time and have a lot of fun.
Okay. And then the one on December,
The December 13th, we haven't handed out yet because it's a
Oh.
little farther away.
gotcha. Okay.
So, but yeah, so that's just the same thing. We show up at Wood Village Baptist Church at like 8, have coffee, go over the rules and everything of what we do. And then the people have lined up. I think last one year they lined up at 5
5 a.m.
a.m.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, they line up and they are there and ready to go. So, and they have the night before the church, outlines, they lay out all the toys in age groups. It's amazing what they do. And then, so the families do all their shopping and then at the very end, they're stocking stuffers. So each family also gets a stocking stuffer. So,
And higher ticket items, like we get bicycles donated or higher ticket stuff, there's then you enter for a raffle
I forgot.
for one of those
So
items.
some of the local businesses are doing bikes raffles, so they're just asking their patrons to help do bikes and stuff like that with helmets. Skateboards, scooters, things like that. And for all ages, not just the littles. Like we do have teenagers that need
Yeah.
to get to
Yeah,
school and get around. So we're looking for all age bicycles. And those can be dropped off at any of the city halls, the Troutdale, the Fairview, or the Wood Village city halls at any time. And we can come collect those and store those. So lots of donations.
Historically, have you seen like more of a need in a certain age group compared to?
The teenagers really get forgotten. And so we're looking for, I asked what.
Yeah, because I-
15-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So makeup, for girls,
Makeup.
they're really into the makeup things, the, wireless AirPods or the, the version of the mic, things like that. Snacks, they like snacks. No socks, they don't like that. So,
Like basketballs, footballs, soccer balls.
anything to get them outside. We try to get them off their electronics and outside. So activities that will take them outside. Like I said, bikes, sports equipment,
Like paddle
paddle stuff.
stuff or?
Yeah, they have a futsal court that you guys use all the time.
Mhm.
So, just anything like that. The makeup is really good with the girls, colored pencils,
Oh, our
even
kid.
they like.
Art
yeah, some
supplies.
art
Yeah.
supplies for older kids, not just crayons and stuff.
How do families know about this? Is it?
So it's word of mouth.
It's word of mouth,
Word
okay.
word of mouth that we've done. We do a little bit online.
Okay.
When it gets closer, I know our PIOs will put it out.
Sure.
I know, the Wood Village Church, but it's word of mouth
Word of
and
mouth.
there's a line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it hasn't,
Yeah.
they don't stop.
And you said last year you guys served 1,300?
1,300 children.
That's a lot.
So,
It's amazing.
yeah. And they were mainly from East County. There were some outside the area,
Yeah.
but not too many. They were all local. So it was
Do you have a digital copy of this?
I do. And I believe Caroline emailed it.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
emailed?
And it's in the newsletter, it'll be in the newsletter as well, but we'll get you
Caroline
copies.
has some.
Oh, okay. I was wanting for me to
Yeah.
disperse to my organization.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if, I think.
We can get you that.
Yes, Caroline. So,
Okay. Oh, Caroline created them.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So, or the main one, I think ours, we did that bow one for the tissue paper drive.
So then there is this one also, and
Yeah,
so.
from November 1st until the 12th were tissue paper and gift bags of all sizes.
And that's going to be normalized per population, correct? To
working on
correct
it.
for it?
You know,
To make sure it's even.
I know. You didn't get 100 rolls like Troutdale did last.
We got a lot of roles
You
for a
did.
community of our
You did.
size,
I'm very
so.
proud of you.
So is it per tissue paper?
We're-
I'm asking for a
I
friend.
do.
Are we counting by weight?
Yeah, but we've had a lot of local businesses that have really been supportive, so we're excited
Yeah.
to join again and fill the cruisers, help the kids out in East County.
Yeah.
This is not.
Great.
Yeah, I'm
This
super
is
excited.
amazing. I personally haven't been able to attend like this, but I think,
Mhm.
we'll make an effort.
It is.
Very
It's really
good
cool.
for-
My kids actually come and help shop during the day and they had a really good time and people donate a lot of money and the church goes and uses it what they need to. So
Awesome.
And then the shopping was on
the
the.
13th.
Oh.
Yeah, and we'll be sending another flyer
Oh,
out.
on the 13th,
Yeah,
December.
so
13th.
that's when we're at the stores is the 29th. We're inside the Walmart and the Kohl's and the
The collection
the
event's the
collection day, yeah,
29th.
The collection
collection
is the
date.
29th.
Mm,
And the distribution is on the 13th.
Gotcha. Okay, okay.
So. But all ages can come help and support and have fun.
Well, that's
Awesome.
great.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Thank you so much for the work you do and we are so happy to be a part of this.
Super excited.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
thank you.
Nice to see you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move to resolution 26-2025 Utility Relief Program with our finance director.
Mr. Mayor, counselors. Give me 1 second. All right. Before you tonight is a resolution authorizing the creation of a utility assistance fund for private utilities. This is something that we just presented at your last council meeting. Just as a quick recap, this was reimagining what we could do with the funding from the holiday program. We did a lot of community outreach on this, both at the Reynolds High School Senior Day here at the park and at Night Out. The majority of people who gave feedback noted that they would like to see this as a direct to the those residents who don't have direct city and water sewer bills. So the program is going to be similar to what we did with our ARPA funding back in 21-22, where we are going to be allowing people for us to pay PG or Northwest Natural on their behalf. This isn't money that goes to them. This is money that they submit a utility bill. We verify that they're participating in a means tested federal or state or county program, and then we pay PG and Northwest Natural Glass directly. Again, it's only available to those people who don't qualify for the city utility assistance program that we currently have active. And we are capping it at $150 per application because that was about a little bit more than the average of what we were getting from the city side. So we're going to take the money that was budgeted for the holiday programs and move that over. And I will say that one of the recommendations in the staff report was that if we do a supplemental budget this year, we would move that money to where it needs to go. Right now, we have the appropriation, but we would kind of clean things up and also clean up, since we're now having multiple programs with multiple funding streams, we want to make sure that we've got everything laid out and is transparent so that we can report back and be accountable to you and the ratepayers for what we're spending. Next steps. So based on feedback at last council, we're going to start offering the program on December 1st, 2025, not 26. And then we included it in the newsletter that's being distributed next week, noting that it did start on December 1st. There's a QR code that you can scan for the application. Staff worked, we finalized the application to make it very clear that it's a $150 cap. So there's some programs where you submit the bill, they pay the whole bill, you don't have to worry about it. We want to make sure that someone doesn't apply here and then have a balance left on their bill and not be aware of it. So Caroline was great in helping put that together and get that cleaned up and make it match so that our program's going to be fairly seamless and hopefully as easy as the one that we have for city water and sewer bills. So questions in the discussion?
I was not going to even bring up your slides. He already did. You were not in the room.
Well, Greg tapped me on the shoulder because I was in the back putting together. I'm heading to a conference tomorrow and I'm doing a presentation on the role finance has to play in making decisions about whether or not to go to a special district. So he said, you might want to check your template because your slides are screwed up again. And
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not using this one.
No. But I am going to check that and PDF it so that I don't show up in front of a room full of people and have this happen. So
Questions by the council? No, I appreciate, I know this was a discussion 2 weeks ago and there was a thought of starting at the beginning of the year, but I think we saw the need arising sooner. And so we appreciate you guys working to get this up, this year. So I think it works well in line with our, city goals and things of that nature of what we want to do. So.
And just to kind of touch on that with everything that's going on and a lot of community members losing their SNAP benefits in a couple of days. This $150 makes a huge difference in this year. And that was our goal, is to have it happen as soon as we could. So I really do appreciate this one.
yeah. No, we'll try and work with our partners like the sheriff's office and the food banks and the Baptist church and all of the folks we have a relationship with to get the word out for people that they can apply in December.
Well, and just while we're talking about some of that, SNAP not being refilled and some, the federal shutdown and those impacts. I mean, as always, we have utility payment programs. People struggle, they can work with us to, extend that due date a little bit. And certainly during times like these, we've short-term extended that, a couple other weeks here and there. We don't like it going too far out because then you start stacking, but certainly with the impacts upon the community, we're aware of those. And again, if people need help with a payment or payment, extension, all they gotta do is call.
Any further discussions or questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution 26, 2025, establishing a private utility relief program as presented.
I'll second that.
It's been first and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go ahead and move to presentation of BOAC 911 ambulance service update with Seth.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for bringing me back here. So I'm going to do a little bit of background because we have some new faces on the council. This also is an issue that goes back to 2019. So there's some history there. So BOAC is the Bureau of Emergency Communications, or what we called the 911 Dispatch Center for Portland. So they are the public safety answering point. That means, and that they're designated as that by the state. So every county has one responsible agency for answering 911. And this came out of some legislation when there was some competition and things weren't working. This was a way to streamline it. Every county has one. So they get our portion of the 911 tax, goes to defray those costs and goes directly to BOAC. And we pay the difference for the 911 because the 911 tax doesn't cover all the 911 call taking costs. And we also pay them for dispatch services. Now, dispatch services are not required to be done by BOAC. We could stand up our own 24/7 911 center. We have not seriously considered that. Gresham has in the past. Gresham has also looked at long time ago, looking at CCOM, which is Clackamas County Communications, being their dispatch center. Again, looking at costs. So the agreement for cost sharing, the intergovernmental agreement, has been in place since 1995. So after the last AMR contract renewal process, which started in 2015, they were awarded the contract in 2018. East County, primarily Gresham Fire, pushed back that we weren't involved in the process. This is important because they're doing a similar process now, and we were trying to reach out to the county and make sure we are included in the process. And one of the things that came out of that was a recognition that AMR, which is the county's ambulance provider, it's contracted directly through Multnomah County Emergency Medical Services through Multnomah County Health, doesn't pay for their dispatch where everyone else does. So that started, and the IGA was crafted back in 1995. There's a lot of language about technology that's kind of outdated. It's kind of a little unclear on some of the bylaws and some of the things that govern it. So there was a process that started to update the IGA. And as part of that, also update the cost allocation to better reflect who's using the system. Because back when this was being formulated in the early 90s, people generally didn't call 911 when they fell down and couldn't get up. That came about because of the medical alert bracelets where you had the commercial, help, I've fallen down, I can't get up. They started getting a lot more medical calls to 911, where 911 primarily used to just be police and fire, and the medical was incidental. You only call, back when Gresham was primarily strawberry fields, the farmers only called when they were dying, not because they cut their knee or something that they couldn't stitch at home. That's changed a lot in the last 30 years. So as part of this, all the user agencies, the cities, the county all got together, the finance directors all got together, said, okay, we just got to come up with a fair way of distributing costs. We had a series of meetings, looked at the different metrics that we could use, the data that BOAC had available to try and come up with a good number for workload. We wanted to have this be relatively stable. We didn't want big year-over-year increases. So we talked about doing some averaging like we do with our sewer bills through our IG with Gresham. And the smaller agencies that don't really drive a lot of the volume are going to require us to hire another person, like Savi's Island Fire, Corbett Fire, the Port of Portland, Portland State. We just excluded them from the cost sharing. They're all ended up being a rounding error for everyone else. So the idea originally was to approve this and take the IGA, I think it was on the annual performance plan back in 2021 and 2022 and 2023. Negotiations with the county medical services primarily broke down. The shorthand version is they had the position that any number bigger than 0 was not going to move forward. And the IGA process has been on hold as we've tried to work through that. So part of the working through it was we eventually got to the point where I asked the county, because they wanted to redo the committee that had been done in 2019, 2020, kind of come up with a methodology. And we said, people are open to that, but you have to answer two questions first. One, what's a fair way of allocating cost? And then the second question is, who's responsible for paying the portion of medical dispatch? Because in conversations with Mayor Harden and Mayor Minor and Mayor Rios Campos, the sentiment was that currently the cities are paying for medical dispatch. We currently don't have a seat at the table when we have issues with medical dispatch, and there have been a lot of issues with medical dispatch since COVID, with the two paramedics on the ambulance, the 911, the ambulance response times where there's just people, you know, at some points, people are just like, put them on the fire engine. We got to take them because there's not an ambulance in East County. Like that's kind of where we got to. So we kind of said, one of those things has to change. We can't keep paying and keep being told we don't have a say in the process of how this service is being provided. Either everybody pays their own way and everybody stays out of everyone else's business, or when we have service concerns, it doesn't take letters from our mayor and representatives and commissioners to actually get you to do something different when things are obviously not working. So it's a lot of deep background. I'm going to pause there to catch my breath and I'll see if there's any questions from the council.
So just brief, this is kind of what we're hoping to do is restructure how everyone's cost to BOAC is. And so what we're saying, what Seth is kind of alluding to is that there's a party that's involved in this that does not pay into that system, but benefits in a manner that others will not benefit. And that affects the cities as it, you know, again, it's something that deal with fire. And as we're dealing, you know, knee deep into fire discussions, I mean, this is a portion of that fire increase that they are now having to respond and kind of deal with, in lack of better words, with medical response because of the absence of proper you know, providers in the area. Gresham a couple years ago, you know, bought their own ambulance because they went through a situation where one wasn't around with one of their firefighters, you know, deeply injured. And so, unfortunately, that individual, you know, passed away and they said, we're going to do this to prevent that again. So it's just kind of where we're at now. And we're basically saying this needs to change. And
the council, I believe in 2020, early 2024, sent a letter inviting the chair to our 3-city meeting where we kicked off the AP Triton discussion. And it feels like, I mean, and I was looking back at the records, I'm like, that was only 15 months ago. It feels a lot longer than that. But, you know, pointing out that really, nobody would design a system the way we have it set up, where we have a bureau within the city of Portland doing the 911 dispatch. We have the county managing the medical services on county health managing the medical services on contract. Department of Homelessness Services managing the homeless service outreach, which a big part of the driver and call volume increase has been issues with low acuity medical calls, primarily driven by the increase in homelessness and people experiencing distress that don't have anywhere else to go other than the emergency room. And then individual fire departments responding within their city jurisdictions. So we have this very fractured system that's inefficient, isn't doing a good job meeting the needs, and is also very expensive. And where that really comes home for us on the fire side is 80% of the fire calls are medical. So that's 80% of their workload. And when an ambulance isn't available, they have to shift fire resources around and they have to have, you know, the other part of that is that because the ambulances are taking so long, within Gresham's jurisdiction, I think 85% of the type 1 medical calls, the high priority heart attack, stroke, things where it's not, I got a broken leg and I can hang out for 10 minutes. It's, you need to be there. You need to be there so that the outcome is that someone doesn't die or that somebody gets the treatment or doesn't lose function, where minutes are critical. 85% of those calls, Gresham Fire is the first responder on the scene. The ambulance shows up later and does the transport to the hospital, but they're the ones there. And that we're paying for an ambulance service provider, but we're really getting a medical transport provider, because when people are in distress, it's fire that's showing up. And that's, again, not part of the conversation that the county's been able to hold their contract provider to, is to actually provide that service so that firefighters can focus primarily on fire rather than being medical response. So all these issues are kind of interrelated with some of the difficulties that we've been having. This is a fairly complicated workflow, and I apologize for that. I had it broken up. But really, what we were trying to do is we split BOEC into its 2 core functions and said, hey, we have to pay for 911 call taking. That's on us. That's on the cities. We're not going to change that. And we divided those costs up by how many, the actual staffing, the people that are actually working on the operations floor, how many of them do 911 call taking versus dispatch. So that's the first split of the funding. And then within dispatch, how many dispatchers do you have for police, fire, and medical? So that's kind of and we broke those up on the number of calls that come in. So BOEC, their 5-year average for calls is about just over 600,000 calls a year. So that's 2,000 calls a day they're dispatching.
Okay, and those are the numbers on the bottom.
Yeah.
The
so
609,
that's
okay.
609. So then, most of those are police. 75% of those are police, and then there's fire and medical. Well, when we were negotiating with the county, when they were helping us work on this, they pointed out that you shouldn't allocate all the medical to us, because fire also responds to medical. So this kind of interim step was, okay, well, there's some calls that are fire only, and there's some calls that only ambulances respond to. We will split the ones where there's a joint fire and EMS call. If there's a joint dispatch on a call that has fire and EMS both responding, we'll split the cost on that. So what ended up coming up, and then at the end of that, and I'll use police as an example. So who pays for this $6.7 million? Well, Portland, Gresham, and the sheriff's office, based off of how much of this they use. So that's kind of how we allocated that out to the different people who are using it. Is for dispatch service, how much you use determines how much you pay. And there were other ways of doing it, and this isn't a perfect way, but we felt like calls for service was the most comprehensive and solid data set that we had that made the most sense for the service we were trying to figure out how to determine who pays for. So the long and short of it is that the county EMS would be on the hook for an additional 2.4 million, which is a lot of money. But BOEC spends about $36 million. So it ends up being about 8% of the budget. And medical calls there's 100,000 of them a year that they would get dispatched to. There's, I think, 12 stations at the 911 Ops Center that are manned 24/7 for responding to this. So it's not they have, I think, 130 dispatchers that they need in order to meet that need. Employing 130 people is not cheap, and all the technology and communication that they need in order to do that. So we thought it was fair. Kind of disagreed, and also kind of got hung up in a little bit of bureaucratic limbo between their legal team and their medical county health and their sheriff's office. It's got to get everybody on the same page, and there wasn't a lot of impetus to do that. So 2 weeks ago, we actually took a vote to change it, not under the new IGA, which is what we wanted to do, but under the old IGA that we are currently working under. Because the thought was this was the biggest hang up for getting the new IGA in front of the elected officials was this issue of cost. So we just solved the issue of cost in order to get the county to engage on the discussion about service provision and who's responsible, what's a fair way of allocating costs for medical service dispatch, and who should pay it. Like, that's where we wanted to get to. And there was some discussion. I checked in with Greg and we talked at the user board. And we really came to the point where, especially now, it was good to have a practical lesson in representative democracy. Greg and I are city staff. You guys tell, and Greg you tell Greg what to do, he tells us what to do, and we do it. We don't make policy decisions. That's not something that's within our purview. And I expressed to Greg, I really feel like we've done all we can as staff. We've tried working out, we've tried reaching out, we've tried coming. Really the question of, because there's, a value proposition to be made. Maybe we keep paying this, but we get something else in return. I'm like, that's a discussion that elected officials need to have. That's not something that we as staff or the county staff is really the right people to have those conversations with. That needs to be a policy decision made by the duly elected representatives of the people. And so we took it about as far as we could as at the staff level. And so the hope is this last Friday, we sent all 5 mayors, 4 East County cities and the city of Maywood Park sent a letter to Portland saying, please implement this change effective July 1st, 2026, because the user board is an advisory board. And with the hope that we can have a sit down with all of executive, legislative leaders to discuss what are we going to do to move this forward? Because we have this cost allocation problem, we have this IGA that we need to clean up, but also can we have a conversation about how we're doing medical service in Multnomah County? Response, whole spectrum from low acuity medical to who's doing the dispatch, to who's responding to fire, to who's providing the medical. And can we make sure that we're doing that in a way that's efficient and we're not having a bunch of overlap and waste? So that's the conversation that we signed off on for the mayors to say, can we please have that conversation? And that's the invitation that we gave to the chair last April when she, I think, came out to the June 2024 meeting. So never thought finance would be so but Greg's been great and he's been very supportive and he's reached out to other city managers and talked to elected officials. And we feel like we're moving this forward in a way that at least, and if the county looks at the IGA and the cost allocation and votes no, and their elected leaders take a look at it and say, no, we don't want to do this, great. Then we have an answer and we can move forward with next steps. But I feel like getting a yes or no answer from the elected bodies on kind of what we need to be doing is worth, even if it's not consensus. So that's the update.
Yeah, I think this is an important time as we've seen that this is a outdated, agreement. And as we've seen a huge shift from even 2020 was basically when this shift of, low acuity calls to 911 really spiked. The system hasn't adapted as well as those cost responsibilities and other responsibilities. So I think, when Greg and staff has been talking to me about this, it's, kind of a crucial moment. As I mentioned before, we're having these conversations around fire. I mean, it's really fire and EMS. And so that really falls in line with that conversation. And this, Seth mentioned this agreement has been in place since 2015. Or
the IGA draft is at least 3 years old, but
Yeah.
it's the overall agreement's been in place since 1995.
Yeah. So, so it's taken 3 years to get to this point, right? And so now there has been a consensus amongst at least the 4 East County mayors and including Maywood to say, hey, I think it's time to have a discussion on how do we look at this differently. And so that's kind of, the goal is that we start having conversations about what's not working well for our community. I think that's really the emphasis on what we're trying to do here.
And I will also mention on the user board, we do have citizen representatives that represent West Portland, East Portland, and East County. And at some point in this process, they have all voted to move this forward with this allocation because they wanted to see a fair cost distribution as well. So we could, and also can we move past this and talk about some of these other things?
I just think what's been interesting in all of this is the county's position of, we don't subsidize, the ambulance service. That includes any of these BOAC costs. Like, well, that's all well and good, but that means now all the other cities are. And of all the partners at BOAC, AMR is the only for-profit one not paying into it. So this hopefully, gets that shift where, again, paying a reasonable amount for the services they use for dispatch.
And we've also pointed out that AMR won the contract for Washington County in 2023. They're paying for dispatch service to Washington County. The next four largest counties, Clackamas County, Marion County, Lynn County, and Washington County, the ambulance providers pay for dispatch in some form or another. Not necessarily this methodology, but there's an acknowledgement that, and I will also say that all of those counties usually typically have more than one ambulance provider, either private or municipal. So they have to. This is not, we're not radicals here. This is not a brand new system or proposal or idea that people who use the service should be the ones paying for that service. So.
What do we have to do to move it along?
Well, the next step is meeting with Portland to approve it, and hopefully we can use that as a lever to get the process on high. I've said that we've gotten kind of high centered. We'd like to get it off the bump and get it moving again and have some discussions between, again, elected officials.
Which should be obvious if everybody else pays for this service, not paying for this service.
But we've had to. We have two new city managers and relatively new in Fairview and Troutdale, and we
Didn't take much discussion to get them to, they should be paying something, especially
where
those new city manager came from Washington County. It's like, everyone just pays.
their share.
So we did send that multiple signatory letter to Portland Friday, got confirmation today that it's in their office and their handlers, and they're discussing it to talking turning next steps, and hopefully again, just have that conversation, because again, while we've got a methodology and it seems reasonable, we're not against alternative scenarios where they're paying something, at least until we see, where maybe the new contract comes up or of that sort. But at least this is now, it's in the hands of the policymakers, because as Seth said, for the longest time, it was stuck like at a county staff level, just stonewalling it. And so now it's like, well, it's no longer where it's going to land. It will be, it's elevated to the policymaker, where that it should go now.
Any further questions, comments?
No, that's it.
I'll just reiterate, it's done elsewhere, so why not in the largest county in the state of Oregon, So we've done staff's done their part. I think it's now will come to, in sense us, to have continuing discussion and kind of push on that as well. So push on those that kind of oversee it right now. And so hopefully we do get a response sooner than later from the city of Portland in having further discussion on what this looks like. So thanks, staff, for doing all of that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Now we'll go ahead and move to resolution 27-2025, the MHCRC dissolution.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Yeah, this is a fast acting, this is fast acting. So this is the consideration for the dissolution of the MHCRC. So I want a little bit of background of what's been going on, recent activity, now the action before you. So the MHCRC is formed in 1992 between an intergovernmental agreement between all probably six, maybe Poke's probably part of it. We just don't ever hear about them, but certainly the four cities, City of Portland, Multnomah County. Why we formed it was in the early 90s. Cable was a new, big, revolutionary technology, really growing. And it was thought that if this region come together under one franchise agreement for each provider, you get consistency for the service, service expectations, public benefits, which some of those public benefits were, it was called PEG fees. So that's public education and government, separate channels, benefits, et cetera. There is different technology fees. And then, advocacy, policy work all around just cable and cable management. We were known, the MHCRC is known for one of the strongest franchise agreements in the country, both in terms of consumer protection and of public benefit. But as I'm sure all of you know, I'm sure if you raise your hand, who of you has cable, it probably reflects the broader community that not many have cable anymore as it switched to, internet-based programming. That's both for just people changing their subscriptions, but also how technology has been classified by the FCC. Even though it could be cable, it's no longer cable. So a lot of declines, especially over the past 10 years. So because of this, the MHCRC is kind of seeing these trends and going, this doesn't look good. What do we do about that? So the past 18 months, they did a whole comprehensive study around what its future is and the future of cable. That's everything from those technology changes, consumer changes, regulatory changes, what we could project or predict into the future. And basically, there isn't a future in cable anymore. Now, there's still several years left of people having cable, but at some point, it's no longer what it was. So the recommendation of that study was basically to dissolve the MHCRC, but put together a plan where we could still have current franchise management, those PEG programs and things are protected or resolved. And, there's still something to manage that. So, because there's been a lot of interest from some of the larger jurisdictions about pulling away and pulling out of the MHCRC, the board voted the other week, the MHCR board voted the other week to dissolve by June 30 of 2026. So the city of Portland is actually working on a framework of how that could work and would be then further adopted. That includes that franchise management, PEG management, and then what happens to the technology center. So for Portland, it's
Signal.
Open Signal, and then for us, it's East Metro Community Media. And so again, under the franchises, they get certain amounts of revenues. And so how does that work if we're no longer with the MHCRC? So Portland's trying to put together this framework to involve all the parties to make sure this happens as successfully as possible. Gresham has also been reaching out to the 3 other cities out here to make sure we're all on the same pages. So what this resolution does is simply acknowledges the MHC resolution to dissolve by June 30. It doesn't necessarily set up or adopt any kind of framework of the who, what, how, when, or where, but just that we want to be willing participants in that process to make sure, especially like Metro East has a landing path to this new normal. That is it in a nutshell. There's been, like I said, a lot of work, a lot of different stuff behind the scenes, but essentially, I think quicker than most people thought, the MHC voted to dissolve, I think in a way so it could be done collaboratively with all the jurisdictions, not some pulling out and then having this hodgepodge mix. So again, this resolution simply concurs with that and says we're going to be willing participants in a new normal.
Any questions by the council?
I have none.
Then I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 27-2025 concurring with MHCRC Resolution 2025-1 to dissolve the MHCRC by June 30th, 2026.
I second that.
So there's a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I'll let our representatives at MHCRC know, and this again, willing to be participants in this, how this moves forward.
Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and move to discussion of holiday discussion.
So thank you again, Mayor and Council. So Christmas this year falls on a Thursday. Typically, if the Christmas holiday falls midweek, it's half-day Christmas Eve, maybe open City Hall, then 10 a.m. the following day after Christmas. When it's fallen somewhere on or near a weekend, it has been, we take it to you to say, would you like to grant an additional as a one-time holiday for the 26th? So that's pretty much what we're asking you this evening is, would you like to grant the 26th off as a holiday day?
Holiday day paid.
Isn't Thanksgiving, the Friday after it always every year?
So as part of our regularly scheduled holiday days, Thanksgiving and the day after is a set holiday for city staff, paid holiday. Christmas, though, because it floats around, we've always treated it as, again, if it's midweek, well, this is midweek. It is what it is. Getting try to give some time off Christmas Eve, coming to, late morning the following day when it's been treated around a weekend, like, maybe Christmas is on the Monday. Well, that's a little different. It's really when Christmas hits on a Thursday. Because again, if Christmas falls on the weekend, well, then it pushes the holiday forward or back depending on that day.
I think I agree with it. I wish we had a council and my organization to do something like that. I'll be working.
Any thoughts, comments?
No, I think Christmas and after Christmas, because you usually eat a lot and drink a lot. Not me personally,
No.
because,
They make
anyway,
Time with family,
other,
really important. Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. That's,
No, I think you have the consensus of,
Thank you. On
Doing it,
behalf of myself and all of our staff, thank you very much. And I'll be sure to relay it that it truly is a gift from you all. This shouldn't ever be expected.
well, they work hard. So I mean,
Yeah.
I know other jurisdictions take 2 days off during Christmas holiday. So it'd be a thought of consideration for future, but we appreciate the ask and you guys will deserve it. So.
We appreciate the gift.
Right, we'll go ahead and discussion on Parkinson's Chamber rental.
Yeah, so this one that you saw it in your packet, I didn't make a presentation for this. It's more kind of discussionary, but the Parkinson's Resources Group of Oregon has been using this space for probably about a year and a half in change-ish, and it's monthly. I think it's like the first two, it's the second Tuesday of the month, like I think at 1 o'clock from like 1 to 2 o'clock. It originally started with the room they were using. I think it was either like a community center or the library got flooded or damaged, so they had to relocate. The relocation had a similar issue, and they found here. And through that, that we've done the supporting proclamation every year for Parkinson's Awareness Month. We've helped signed off on legislation to help create a database for better research. They've attended the night out, again, getting the word out. So it's been a very wonderful group. The question has become, they want to renew for another year of in gratis use. And one could say their impact is minimal. But the question of kind of equity and fairness comes up. There are, I'm sure, a lot of other groups who do good things and good works and support groups. And what's to say one group gets free use over another for a long period of time? We like to grant, again, like our community partners or community friends, we need a spot for a meeting during the daytime. Typically, we try to accommodate that as best as we can. It's the ongoing ones that get a little trickier. So because they use it all of this current calendar year and looking for all of next calendar year, we certainly wanted your action on that. So it just wasn't staff making just discretionary decisions kind of beyond what that policy is. So if you decide to grant it, then that's perfectly fine and you can do it. And we could say, well, come present to the council other groups if you want the space. We would suggest, though, that if it goes beyond this calendar year, either we create a policy to formalize that or say, we've happy to help host you group. This will be your last year at no charge. So you'll either have to pay, which would be in their case $50 since it would get the affiliate rate during the daytime. Or, maybe try to find a new home, and maybe now with the bigger library going to be open within this calendar year, maybe they can find a home there. I don't know. But it really is your discretion at this point.
I think it's important to be inclusive. It's not something we advertise saying, hey, we have this room that is complimentary per se, to X, Y, and Z group. We don't have anything in writing that says that. And it is discretion, our discretion. And that's one of the hard things is that we can't be biased in that matter. So I think that's really tough because we do want to support all organizations, but if we don't know, if they don't know that's available and where it's not published, then I don't think it's equitable. That's my opinion. But again, of course, this is a great cause and a foundation that we want to support.
How many people, what time of day
I
and
believe it's either 1 or 1:30 for about an hour.
in the afternoon?
Yeah.
1:30 to 3:30.
Thank you.
2 hours.
And it ranges probably from just under a dozen to just over a dozen, kind of any given month. They do have some stuff online, so they might have some virtual attendance, but like I said, it's really not a big impact for our operation.
But have you asked them, if we have to charge you, what can you afford?
We haven't asked it. I'm gonna guess. I don't think they collect any money.
Probably not, but I want to give it to everybody free. Who doesn't like free stuff? But
Finance director doesn't.
life is not free. So anyways,
At the
at
old
that-
city hall, they had,
yeah,
and it was big one, it was this. Is that not a thing?
Oh, no, we have set fees, but they came in asking essentially and they came to council, said, can we use this space at no charge? We essentially don't have a meeting space they thought short term. It's turned into, I think, a longer term thing, but we do have fees, a full fee schedule programmatic, and that's kind of where, again, that term of what's fair and equitable for other groups. Again, we try to work, again, a one-off with our community partners. That's generally fine. But like even when the school district, for example, needed this space for its regular board meetings for about 15, 16 months, we charged them an affiliate rate, a lower rate, but it did book up the space regularly in the evening, so we couldn't use it for our own space or others. So not a lot of peak demand at 1:30 to 3:30 on a Tuesday, but it does raise the question, why not others?
they might want to check with the church and see. They have rooms downstairs and in the other building that they would be happy to have them there, I'm sure.
Like you mentioned, Greg, it does become a policy discussion, of setting the precedent of the ask was a short term. Now it's a different question now. And not that this is a revenue generator, but these are still assets that we have to, staff has to manage. And then, as council, we'll have to make decisions on how to maintain it for 20 plus years. And so I think, again, as low impacting, it is more of the principle of, the ask was this, now it's this. And so it's two different questions. And I think, for what the reservation for the remainder of the year, I think we could probably do, or it would be kind of up to the council to all agree. But I think for next year, I think there should be a discussion of, that was then, here's now the new, conversation of there has to be some type of a fee associated with that.
But maybe direct them to the church. They have all different
Spaces.
there and spaces and it's all free, so.
Yeah, I will reach back out and say, council's still very supportive of the group, but for that larger equitable, global portion, either need to talk about some kind of fee, or here's maybe some alternative meeting room spaces for you to explore and
Yeah.
look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah. Will do.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to Director of Public Works report. With our Public Works Director, Erica.
Evening, Mayor, councilors. We'll make it quick tonight, but I promise next month you'll get all of the pretty pictures
Yeah, because next month
this month.
I get to present it because she has to be gone. So I get to present all the good.
You have to be gone?
I have another board meeting that I will be running.
Oh.
Because we switched, we're not going to be on the second Tuesday. We're on the third next month, on the
We
18th.
Conflict with your other priority.
You do. So graciously, I'm going to hand it over to Greg next month with all the fun stuff.
And stuff.
Last month, we actually had a lot of trainings and certs and all of that, that our staff did. That is also exciting and in the background. But some of the things that you guys can see, community can see, was those boardwalk boards that were replaced, kind of some rotting ones, and we'll continue to keep an eye on those. And then the more exciting is kind of the libraries that showed up in the park too. The book library that we have right out front, that has a lot of use. And then the seed library out back, which will get another extension to that too at some point. So on top of that, we had our annual Cedar Lane vault cleaning that was done over on Cedar Lane. And then we reseeded the upper Picnic Grove. When they did the CDBG project, we put seed out, but with the temperatures and the lack of rain, that didn't really take. So we put more seed. So if you go walk over there, you can actually see grass now, which is exciting. Jeremy is very excited to see green, not brown. And then we had street sweeping with Multnomah County Transportation is who completes that for us. And then the hydrant painting was fully completed last month. And then some of our trainings with our new staff, the FEMA trainings were completed. And then Jeremy passed his wastewater collection 1 cert and his cross connection specialist. And as did Mary with the cross connection. So those were the fun things from last month. We've stayed pretty stagnant with our water loss. And then for building Chick-fil-A, they had some storm revision last month. They were gonna connect to a storm kind of in the Lowe's parking lot. They ended up needing to connect to the Multnomah County storm out on Wood Village Boulevard. So that was a change and improved. And then GrowTech had their CFO for their rear building that they've been working on for a while. And then Lowe's had some updates. So any questions?
What's the Chick-fil-A opening date? Did they give one yet? 'Cause that-
Soon. We have some final inspections this week. We'll see how those go. We have some tomorrow. I think so you have some high hopes. for
I think
beginning of
high
next
hopes
month.
is true. So I think what they want to do is final a lot of things, some starting tomorrow, and then try to get some sort of temporary certificate of occupancy to start bringing in staff for specific staff training and whatnot. But yeah, I think they're trying to target like within that second weekish of November.
Nice.
Last week, they got a lot done.
They actually
did.
really.
They're
did. Like,
close.
the
like-
fence is down.
But there's no date on the.
But
website.
we know some of, it's the details that can hold you up on a lot of these finals because they matter.
Yeah, Jeremy and I did a walkthrough inside yesterday and it's looking good. They still have some things to complete.
They
though.
did reach out to see if they could put a giant inflatable cow on the roof as part of like their grand opening celebration. We pointed out 4 separate times that is not allowed in our code. You can have an inflatable, that's fine, but signs are not allowed on the roof.
Could it be on a car?
It can be on a car. Plus, it
Great
can
solution.
be in the parking lot. I mean,
Drive
it
down 84.
just can't be on the roof.
Let's not have a cow.
Yeah, I was just.
Chicken sandwiches,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah,
Soon.
it's the cow saying, eat more chicken.
Are they going to be just takeout, no seating inside, right?
Yep. so
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just a drive-through and then they do have a walk-up that you can actually order at too.
Okay.
So.
I have a question. Don't judge me. On
This is a safe space.
on Gleason and Wood Village Boulevard, you know, the grass area?
Uh-huh.
Is that us?
No.
Okay.
What's wrong with it?
Nothing's wrong with it now. It was this morning I drove by and there was some shelters. And then I drove by again and then we cut down, or someone cut down the grass to obstruct the hidden.
Sire is probably the one,
Are you talking about on the south side of Gleason or the
South.
north side? The south side, so that's Gresham.
/ Fairview owns a parcel in there.
I
Yes.
think the section she's
Yeah,
talking about
Gresham.
is Gresham.
Yeah,
It's
that's
right
us.
across from.
Yeah, we
Buffalo
don't own anything.
Right,
So
yeah.
if it's on the north side adjacent to the town center, the town center owner takes care of that because there have been some tall vegetation or
Yeah.
shelter questions and they're quite good at clearing that. But yeah, then the south side is mostly, it's city of Gresham, but it's either on Semiconductor, City of Fairview or Port of Portland owns the land.
Yeah,
Well, it's hopefully, I mean, maybe I think people are moving now, so.
Quick question on the community libraries.
yes.
Nothing interesting have been found in there or
So with
opportunities?
With that, we've got a little placard on there that says, we have books that we supply, used ones from elementary schools and whatnot, but essentially we don't manage what people put in there in terms of it's a little community library and it may or may not be reflective of what the community chooses to read. And so we do encourage, parents to be involved in what their kids are reading.
Are we getting unapproved?
No. I just, that was a concept maybe like 10, 11 years ago that been done in the community. And I think one was put at the church and quickly, saw it was a attractor. for other
Luckily, I
things.
think people are enjoying this in the spirit in which we
Okay.
hoped it would be.
I think it does make a difference because it's somewhere visible. So if someone's going to be doing that, they got to be either doing after hours or pretty brave during the work hours.
I think what we've heard of just a lot of positives, especially when we've had some of the events. You're like, oh, there's a little library here now. It's like, yeah, it's we try to keep it stocked with books. So again, we've been very fortunate for a lot of books being donated to us that we can keep it pretty replenished with more elementary-ish
Yeah.
aged books. But certainly, if there are other series, novels,
I've looked
young
at it a few
adult.
times and it is mostly kind of elementary, middle school.
Yeah.
There's been a few that maybe some adults might like more, I don't know, I think I saw a finance one at one point, but just kind of
Seth?
learn. He was getting rid of old.
And someone probably picked it up too.
Awesome.
Posting a City Hall After Dark book.
Any further questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to our finance director for a finance report.
Mayor, council, thank you for having me back. Included in your packet is the finance director's report for September 30th. I will just kind of give a brief update. We had our auditors visit this last month. Everything came back clean as far as we know. We haven't had the exit memo yet. We submitted the urban renewal for review and they've gotten it back to us, and we're in the process of submitting the city's financial statements for their review. So we should hopefully have that wrapped up by mid-November and have something back to publish. Yeah, that's my update. It's the biggest thing going on in finance. Any questions on the report or any general questions?
Sounds good.
We are looking very good for winning our 24th consecutive GFOA financial reporting award. So
Yeah, as long as I don't hear of you taking a trip out of the country.
yeah, well, with 4 kids, where am I going to run?
Awesome.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Tokyo.
Thank you.
Disneyland, Tokyo.
I find.
I will volunteer.
Looks like a group
I think a
effort.
few of us need to go and do a search.
All right.
I need to invest a lot of money for living in Disneyland.
We'll go ahead and do our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A few things to touch on. So as you saw, there wasn't like a specific fire update on this agenda. I think we'd hoped to maybe bring a draft 5-year extension, but we did meet with Gresham last week to tweak some things, mostly around the year 1 cost increase, trying to just bring it down, something that maybe none of us like, but we can all accept. I think that's exactly what I said. And just, putting out like, yeah, none of us can afford these increases. That's why we have the task force. That's why we're trying to find a regional solution. So hopefully the goal is at your November 18th meeting, I'll have an agreement adopted, adoption ready. It's looking like a 5-year overall agreement, but with some opt-outs specifically, especially for, if we get a regional solution and how that may, work through the system. So hopefully next meeting we'll have an agreement to bring you. Also at your next meeting, we'll have conversations about our community conversations, because those are November 13th and 17th. We did hold a trial run last week. Thanks for those who came and provided great feedback and comments. So we're updating the presentation now for all of that. Seth and I are still a little hurt. People don't care as much about property taxes as we do, but we got the point. So that's pretty much it. What's going on with fire at the moment. Again, some things in the works. Next meeting should have more updates. We've also been working a lot with the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde on their site here, the former Greyhound Park site. So a lot of phone calls, Zoom meetings. Those are going to continue, because what I was told just last week was that the Grand Ronde is very serious about putting together a complete master plan for development, and they want the master plan completed 2026. To start development. Not gaming. We know that one. Not going into any kind of trust, not for gaming, not for economic development. And the last conversation essentially was they want to be the owner developer of all of it, not parcel. Maybe, we'll parcel off, sell this, sell that, but might develop. They want to develop it all.
Do it all.
And what we've seen for those fortunate enough to go on some tours of what they developed, they're thoughtful developers. So a lot of work over the next few months putting together what that process may look like, and then doing the process of the whole master plan for that site. So a lot of unknowns, but really exciting that hopefully if we're a year from now, maybe there's permits in progress for some early construction, some early building pads. So that's going on. And then I was going to have Jeff talk about it, but he had to be called away urgently. As you know, he is leaving the end of the year. We'll need to do a replacement. A few meetings ago, we had Christine Taylor from his office. So at the next meeting, we're going to have Jeff actually talk about his replacement process. Also have a conversation with you all about how often do we want a city attorney at these meetings, given what we saw. Jeff gives us a wonderful rate, put it that way. And we
Yeah,
might want to be a
really.
little more diligent of how we bring the city attorney into the fold to make sure that just we're getting the best value.
Mhm.
So we'll have that conversation at your next meeting. We're hoping to have a little primer, but he's not here. So otherwise, oh, and it looks like we will be able to award the wetlands park full design work. We'll call it redesign, full design, for about just over 70,000. So less than 90,
Wow.
more than
Good.
50, but, so we got 2 proposals back and one very exceptional. So we're looking forward to beginning that project. They're really excited about it. So
Are is the tribe going to do anything with the wetland to,
So, so I wrote kind of a letter as they were talking with their council about, hey, the inviting the city as part of this process. I wrote a letter expressing our gratitude for thinking of us as trying to be part of this, and mentioned from what we've heard from our community members is generally they want either good jobs and or stuff to do. So I just reiterated that messaging with specifically, the wetland park, how it ties into their other development. And by golly gee willikers, it sure would be nice to have a community center as part of that. Don't know how we pay for it. We have some ideas. But as maybe a development flows from the north into the rest of it, especially abutting our wetland park, that interface would be great for kind of a community rec center, some outdoor recreation, and then kind of move into whatever it will be.
are they going to provide any plants or
I don't
like
know.
plants that they used?
I don't know. So in terms of the planting plan itself, there'll be a lot of the native plants that have importance to indigenous peoples.
Right.
What I don't know is if the Grand Ronde itself has nurseries of sufficient stock to supply a project of this size. Certainly that's something we can bring up when we go out to bid, is specifically, reaching out to whether it's Grand Ronde or maybe some other area tribal indigenous groups have a nursery or something that maybe can plant some of it. But as you know, we're talking over 1 million plants that we'll need.
Yeah.
But if there's opportunities to do that, I think that's a nice tie-in.
Yeah. I think they would be wise to even ask them if they have any preferred vendors if they don't themselves, cultivate those.
It's like we can get into that as we start getting to more of the procurement
Yeah.
side of build out. Right now, we're just trying to get to plans that you can build, which is unfortunate. We didn't realize that earlier.
Yeah, and I'd like to see some of their artwork there. They
Oh.
have
Yeah.
totems and, things like that.
And I think
if
that's
they
where we
would
still
maybe do
reserve,
that.
the gateways, the
Yeah.
art element. And we emphasize that in the letter for the build out of the Greyhound Park site, which I probably should think of a better name for it. But, celebrating and sharing their culture, their past, their history, would be an incredible opportunity, as there are plaza spaces there and opportunities, I think, for community gathering space, whether it's the dream of a community rec center or just, some larger plaza public spaces, sharing that, I think, would be a valuable opportunity. That's all I have.
Questions? We have our first task force on the
November
6th.
6th.
That will be fruitful, I'm hoping. In a
I think
positive
it'll be
way.
enlightening. I mean, because again, it'll have all 4 cities plus District 10 plus union representation in a room talking about how we solve this regional solution problem. That's the first time that's ever happened.
Yes.
So hopefully we can get on the same page of, this is the system we need. how can it be achieved? I think that's what we're looking at, because we know the collective us can't do it anymore. We know that, and that's not fault, that's not blame, it just is. So is it District 10? Is it District 1? Is it District 99? I don't know. But hopefully through this process, we can figure that out and collectively say this is the path forward, and we all move forward together in that path. Maybe some can leave earlier, annex earlier than others because different considerations, but we all agree this is the way we're going.
All right. Without the city attorney here, we'll move on to mayor or council comments. Does the council have any comments, updates?
I have a non-city item. The Reynolds Senior All-Night Party is doing a fundraiser at Chipotle this Thursday from 4 to 8. So 25% of the proceeds goes back to.
Do you have to have a specific flyer, or you just,
A flyer. I
so
can email
you
it.
have to have the flyer to?
No, you don't have to have a flyer.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, it's just going to be from 4 to 8.
perfect.
Those proceeds will.
I love those fundraisers.
I do too. A reason to eat, and it goes to the seniors.
Awesome. I have a couple things I'd like to share. It was longer, but I think it was last week. No, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, there was a collective group that got a couple East County elected leaders. So a couple of our House of Representatives were here. We had some school board members. Maxine Dexter, our Congresswoman, was a part of it. And it is, it was a meeting to kind of discuss kind of the moment we're living with our community members, and what can be done as a region, as a city. I know we're very limited in what we can do, even more abroad there. Like, I mean, even as individuals, I think there's limitations, but I think we're still collectively working on what can be, what is a better approach instead of what's kind of going on right now. Just the fear, whether you agree with it or not, just the process that things are happening. I think it's very traumatizing for everybody as a community. I don't think we are ready to live in a world where we see military individuals, vehicles in our day-to-day lives. So it was just kind of a gathering of community leaders. And I was there, obviously was held here. And so this is something personally, for me, something that we're trying to figure out how to best serve our community. As again, we have a significant amount of our constituents that, could be dealing with some type of fear in this moment. But it's an ongoing conversation and things of that nature. So, yeah.
I think the mayor, I think that's really important that you talk about that, because it was a few weeks ago that it was presented to us about the concerns happening in our community. And it's a heavy topic, I might add, because what's happening, it's coming more rapid, and it does create a lot of fear. We talked about the Easter, excuse me, I don't know what season I'm in, the Halloween event that we had, and what we typically have as far as attendance is not the same type of individuals that were there, or less of. And because there's fear instilled in our community, rightfully, and we just need our community to know what their rights are. I know we can't do much as a city, but I think it's important to know what their rights are, what they can and cannot do. So that way they're in the right capacity or mindset to, if they were presented in that situation. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's important. We have our community open house on the 13th, I believe, November 13th. So that is kind of the launch date of what happened last week go out to the public and, if you're available, I think it's from 6.
It starts at 6
6.
and then it kind of goes until
Until it goes.
it doesn't. So again, the first 15 minutes were designed to kind of let people gather, ask some basic questions. We'll have updated poster boards along the side. Then I give the presentation, which was about 30 minutes, leaving what hopefully is reasonable time for other questions, discussion, next steps.
And then the following that will be on the 17th, one in Spanish. Again, really focus more on those community members. Council President Tan, you mentioned something in the earlier discussions of, what was it? Yeah, SNAP benefits when we're talking about the utility relief program. Something that Greg and I had kind of talked about last week is, so we have discretionary council funds as well. Looking at, our community as a whole, I think Greg, you said 1 in 5.
So in Multnomah County, on average, 1 in 5 community members receive SNAP benefits. Given our demographics, is it 2 in 5, 3 in 5? We know it's probably more than the overall county average.
And so, a question comes up, again, as we're going into a time of need, that we understand that those benefits will be available for them, and who knows for how long. And so, there's, I guess the question would be, is there something council thinks we should do with some council discretionary fund to provide, maybe some of those individuals that live in our community specifically, maybe an opportunity to receive some assistance through, a similar program as a utility relief program, but again, more focused on food insecurity.
So can we offer like a cash, is it like a cash assistant program essentially? Because we wouldn't be buying groceries for them.
No, I
Or
mean,
we
it's
give them like a grocery gift card or.
it's a hard one because
Yeah.
we're not in the business of really distributing benefits or admin benefits. We're not in the business of distributing food. The East County Food Pantry is in that business, but they also have a much wider web. So it's like if we give X amount of dollars, those dollars may not go back directly to Wood Village community members, and it's that feels good and like, great, we can help. It's like, well, what are the other cities doing? And is it equitable in that regards of, okay, there's a need, so all the cities are stepping up to help support it. I don't believe that's occurring or being discussed. For smaller Wood Village based food distribution programs, I'm only aware of one that's it's at the Baptist Church that had been a once a month. It wasn't. Then it's kind of, I think, through more of a Gleaners program is once a month for some produce and things. So it's not, it has its channels, it has a distribution thing, but not necessarily the network to regular foodstuffs. So kind of the question is, overall, maybe not a specific program or idea, but what are your all's thoughts on trying to support a program for people in need, given both you've got federal workers without a paycheck, they could be some in our community with that. You also then have SNAP benefits being renewed November 1st. And again, as the mayor said, we don't know how long that may be for.
The biggest step that we could do as a community is make sure they can get resources. Food pantry at the Presbyterian.
Mm-hmm.
Give them those addresses. We facilitate. It's going to impact all the way down. They're not going to have gas for their car to do any extra travel or whatever. I'll pick you up and take you and get you, kind of thing. I do that with a lady down in Months. She is younger than I am, but doesn't walk as fast as I do, kind of thing. And I will pick her up, drop her off at Walmart, and pick her up and take. I mean, that's an avenue that you can do that. I don't mind doing it. Yes, I don't mind doing it. I'll do it, you know? So it's just one of those things that you do and you. But getting them the awareness of where they.
I think the hard thing, Counselor, with that is we don't have the resources and this is just reality. We have 757,000 people that are affected with not having benefits. That's just the benefits piece. We have all these government workers and now they've narrowed it down to some are that were getting paid or not getting paid, right? And so their money's on hold. So we've got two different issues. And if you volunteered for a food bank recently, and the amount of people that are going to get food, there's not going to be enough. And it creates a different problem and issues I see happening where there could be looting. I just see, I'm trying to be positive, but I just see a ripple effect in this. And I feel like if we can help, I don't know what that looks like. I really don't. But the discretionary funds just for our community alone, that percentage is high for our community. And I think it's important that we can, for me, I feel that we can do our part if we can use that discretionary. I'm not sure what that amount.
The auditors don't like when we buy large amounts of gift cards.
I'm
just telling you.
I'm trying to be thinking out of the box of what it looks like.
So to Greg's point, something he proffered at management team, probably the most effective way for us to make sure that we're tracking the money and that's going to Wood Village residents and that it's being spent on Wood Village residents for people in need is our utility assistance programs. And right now we have those limited to once every 6 months and we're launching the private one. If we're probably not going to spend all of the private money that we had allocated to the holiday meal program on that, we figured, I think the estimate was, we think $7,000 or $8,000 is probably what we would do in an actual 12-month period, but we're only going to be running it for 7 months. So what we could do, and probably the easiest thing to do, would be to tell people that because we already asked about SNAP benefits, is we could allow them to do an extra application for one of their utility bills beyond the one every 6 months, if they can verify that they are in SNAP or in one of the affected programs, or if they wanted to show
Furloughed federal worker.
Federal worker, yeah, and they
If they're
have
willing to
their
provide
letter.
that,
Yeah,
then we could
or pay stub.
offer that and say, this doesn't count against the ones that you'd normally be eligible for. And we, between the council discretionary already set aside for utility and the redirected money from the food program, there's probably enough money to cover that we estimated there might be 30 or 40 people that would
apply.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think
that's, if you want to do something quickly that gets money out and that we're fairly comfortable that it's going to the people in need within our community, unless we were to find a food providing partner that we could work with quickly and that we don't already know about, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Voucher system with Fred Meyer's or something. You buy a $50 voucher. It's like your over-the-counter card, buy specific items for it.
The hard part, I think with one of the holiday meal programs, we gave, rather than putting together the meal kit with the fixings, as we called it, we did supply Walmart or Fred Meyer gift cards, and we can do that.
It can also be a little interesting whether we try to work directly with Fred Meyer Walmart on like a specific voucher type or a gift card. It then becomes, we either then have to go purchase them every single time, or we may be stuck with a bunch of, what do we do with these 30 gift card thingies?
And the last time we tried that, our credit card company also locked Caroline out of her card because they thought it was fraud.
Suspicious, yeah.
And so it took a little while to find the right people to get That's.
Yeah, they wouldn't take a check for that amount and we couldn't pay for it on a credit card.
Utility idea.
I think that's a good approach because again, now we're helping in a way that one protects the city and ensuring that it's only benefiting Wood Village residents.
Mhm.
Two, it, provides that checks and balances as an auditor, doesn't, raise up any or too many red flags. And as you know,
Right.
it's a process that you guys have created. And again, it's already folks that have these assistants qualify. So it'd be an easier way for them to say, well, we could, qualify for an additional month because again of the assistance we already are receiving. And it's really
depending-
focused within that demographics that is the highly affected ones.
Yeah, the people who need it. That's,
Yeah.
and since we're launching the private utility relief program, we could let people know that if you apply now, normally it's only once every 6 months, but you could apply for both your November and December bill or October and November bill and get that paid.
And,
at that
and
time.
maybe at first, again, if there's just some concerns of exceeding, maybe we do put some caps in place as a trial and see kind of where that leans, because again, if it doesn't really go anywhere also, but if it just really crazily takes off or something, understand that we don't have deep pockets that
Yeah,
way.
they're not endless
right? And so
funds.
we do want to be fiscally responsible, but I think again, we are in a very uncertain times and uncharted times that what we can do to help our community, I think it's important that we look at it and explore those options to help.
I think just having it on our website, I mean, our website's great, and it's easy to navigate. So, are you impacted by XYZ? Government shutdown or, SNAP, yeah, loss of benefits, then click here or contact us. I think that might be just, instead of having too convoluted and
And we don't need a resolution on that. Greg is, as the administrators of the program, he can grant exceptions to the policy. And if the council's supportive of saying yes for this one-time period for this particular reason, you can grant that, then
then we can review it in a couple of months,
I mean, hopefully in a couple of months, things are.
Yeah.
going in the right direction.
Yeah.
we can't fix it if the federal government shut down for 6 months.
No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
And we understand that piece,
Yeah.
right?
But
I
at
think-
least we're,
I think in the time we're coming in, unfortunately, it's the holidays. There's a lot of uncertainties already. And so, but I would like to at least get is that a council concession or, are there more concerns? Or are we kind of favor of moving forward with something like that?
I'm in favor of that. I just wish that Multnomah County or City of Portland would step up, been to their
Right.
big bunch of money
Yeah.
and pay for that.
most definitely. Yeah.
That's what I wish, because they're the ones, they're being really, really mean. And yeah, I think we should.
And again, this can be if we can do it, why can't you?
I think this might be a good thing to send to our commissioner, just say, hey, by the way,
Yeah,
here's what Little Wood Village is doing.
again, our commissioner, our state legislators to just say, hey, as important as everything else you guys are working on, this is truly what impacts your community that you represent. So maybe in that retrospect, we can get a little support from them as well. So, I think that's something we can totally work on as well. Right.
I never bring that up.
Yeah, so lastly, again, the cruiser and tissue donation gift bags. And with that, we only have one meeting in November,
The 18th,
the 18th.
so not the 11th. So it's the third Tuesday because the 11th is Veterans Day.
They need a big rip.
We will make sure we get that out. All right, with no other questions, concern, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Do you want us to go to the Spanish speaking